It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we have another reaction discussion video that was suggested by one of you guys in the Discord community. Shout out to Deranged Cat for suggesting this one from MintSkull, titled Entitled Survivors Are Killing Dead by Daylight Rant. Now, if you've been keeping up with the channel, you know that we've been discussing this topic for quite some time, and I'm glad to see a much larger creator actually bringing some attention to this, because this is fundamentally one of the biggest reasons that this game is starting to, like, you know, pretty much not even starting, but continuing to take a nosedive. And the fact of the matter is, it's been evidently proven that there's already a bias that goes on with the development of the game. There's already a bias that comes out when actually getting updates, getting changes, getting anything coming to the game. It's usually beneficial to one side, and it's not the killer side. And that's really unfortunate, because I would have hoped that, you know, as a player of the game, we would matter regardless of what you decide to play. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. And because of that, that's why we're trying to bring some awareness and actually, you know, talk about it, because it's at least better to know that you're not alone when talking about this topic. And as much as people will try to deny it or try to disagree in every way, shape, and form, they always fail to provide evidence, disprove it. They always fail to ever disprove what we're saying when it's already been proven, when we have our own evidence, our own data, our own everything. I mean, we can point out so many different examples, and we have pointed out multiple different examples. So I'm really glad to hear that MintSkull here is actually also offering, you know, a take on this, and really going in here, which it seems like they actually offered a bunch of different examples of entitlement that is in the video. So if you want to see those examples, watch the original video. I'm only going to be covering talking points that are being presented in the video.
Never been easier than it is now.
Yep.
We have various busted perks with no nerf in sight, like the zero downsides botany to heal fast, resurgence to heal underhook in seconds, shoulder the burden to completely change the tide of a match, vigil to make our broken exhaustion perks faster to use, hyperfocus takeout to finish generators in half the time. Decisive strike is literally a free perk as of now, but that's not all, because
So that right there, it only took less than 30 seconds, and MintSkull is already cooking it up, a full 5-course meal with the plates, utensils, everything set on the table for us to chow down, because bro is cooking. That already is the number. Like, that is a massive amount of perks that can be used, and they have insane impact. And to disagree with that, because I'm really thinking about it, like, how could people disagree with the strength of these perks when it's been evidently proven by just people playing the game? This, like, at this very moment, like, there are people playing the game and seeing this perk in action. We can literally look at VODs of streams where these perks are in action, and they're doing massive amounts of pressure because of their sheer existence. Escaping has never been easier at this point. And I always bring up this point. I always, like, somebody had come in to the stream and had asked, hey, I'm a returning player. I mainly made survivor. Should I come back to the game? And I told him, you know what? It's the perfect time to come back. You've got everything at your disposal. You got a bunch of great perks to use, a bunch of great buffs, a bunch of great base kit increases to your unhook timers, to your haste and endurance off of hooks. You have your vigil, which your exhaustion's got buffed because vigil's stronger. Ghost notes already increases it by an additional 10% on top, so that you get it even faster exhaustion recovery, right? I mean, the healing speeds are crazy, the gen speeds are crazy. The characters have been either bugged or weak because of it on the killer side. You have a HUD update as well that gives you plenty of information. The healing is only getting better because obviously every perk that is healing is getting progressively better. Botany already just gives you a flat 50% healing boost with no downside to anything you do. I mean, honestly, I told that person, I was like, it's the best time for you. Like, this is, I don't understand why people are still frustrated as a survivor player when you already have everything in your disposal right now. With evidence, by the way, because people will disagree and claim that, oh, killers are being buffed. And I would like to know exactly how and what those buffs are and how that applies to the current day and age of the game. Because as of right now, with the current patch and with the whole PTB changes that they want to pitch that offer very minute, minuscule changes to characters that already are not that strong and will continue to not be that strong as time passes, I have to then once again ask, what changes are the killers receiving that are even remotely as close to what the survivor side is receiving? That's what I'm asking, because there really isn't any evidence to disprove that. There really isn't anything that I can say that the killer has received that will substantially increase their chances of getting kills, getting wins, reducing escapes. Like, that just is not there. Does not exist.
The devs keep feeding us. Ghoul got a nerf to its Volt power, making him easier than ever to loop. Blight will get a nerf that removes the most brain-dead way to play him. We have 70-second timers on Hook that removes the need to think about the macro.
That right there already giving 3 examples of nerfs that come to the killer side, right? We already have Keniki's nerf that went through, making the Vault really bad and pretty much unusable, right? That's already one example. Then the 70 seconds on Hook. That's plenty of time, because we talked about it in a previous video from Pixelbush that had literally mentioned one of the things on the to-do list for the survivor side was to be able to unhook at the right time. But when you have additional time already built in, you don't necessarily need to worry about timing it correctly, because there's no threat that someone's going to receive a hook state, because that additional extra time on the hook allows for you to take a little stroll if you wanted to. You can go off into the sunset, touch a Jenna for a little while, do whatever the hell you want, and then when right before they're like a couple seconds before they're supposed to reach second state, you can pull them right off. And mind you, there's no hook grabbing anymore. You can't, even if you decide to cancel, right, the animation by hitting them, which only a few characters could do anyway. But say you tried to cancel the attack, you can get hit and then get right up and then pull them off anyway, right before the timer ends, because it pauses when you're unhooking, if I'm not mistaken. So at the end of the day, there's way less macro, as MintSkull has just stated, way less macro to worry about. There really is not that much left to really care about. I've made the statement before that they're making the survivor experience like so much easier for the beginners, but that doesn't mean that the beginners are going to perform any better. The intention behind these changes that they're adding was to try to make it so that the beginners have a much better experience. And the fact of the matter is that we're not seeing those players do any better necessarily, at least when they're starting out. But we are seeing experienced players abuse these changes. We are seeing that new players that probably should not be going against certain killer players getting there to that MMR level because of these changes. And ironically enough, if the intention was to increase the duration of these matches, you've only made them even shorter. You've only made them 5-minute matches now, which is directly what they said they didn't want to do. The matches are shorter than ever. 3 gens are flying in under 30 seconds when the match begins. In what scenario does that make any logical sense if a gen is supposed to take 90 seconds to complete?
15 seconds endurance in the endgame to guarantee our escapes. The new map is massively survivor-sided, and we will soon be able to see our teammates' perks, making coordination even possible in solo queue. And yet, despite all of this, despite the countless and countless buffs added on top of buffs that make the game easier for survivors to play in autopilot, I still win the vast majority of my killer matches, no matter what killer I play, no matter what build I decide to run, 4Ks back to back without even try-harding. So how can I as a player claim that survivors are the power role of the game, say that winning without tunneling or slugging is impossible, yet constantly keep winning without slugging or tunneling? Simple. I don't win because I am a good player. I win because the survivors let me win. but they are so entitled that they do not see that. They blame the killer. And just to make it
So what I want to touch on briefly with that is that that's a bit of a case-by-case basis, right? Because it's very dependent on your MMR level. It's very dependent on the time of day that you play. It's very dependent on just, I don't know, and like anything else really. Could be your luck at that point. Who knows? Now, MintSkull is saying that he's winning most of his games. I can't say I'm doing that. I can't say I'm doing that. I'll walk into a match, 3 gens are done in under 30 seconds. Pretty much half the game is done before I even get it down. So at that point, what is there really for me to really do, right? And you know, and then for whatever reason, I'm not really going against any players that are really making many mistakes. At least during the middle of the game. Sometimes I'm able to maybe pull it out at the end, but maybe get a 2 or a 3 if I'm lucky. But that's just maybe my experience, right? That's like what I've gotten lately. That's just what I've been dealing with lately. That's just my anecdotal experience. That's MintSkull's anecdotal experience. We may differ on that, but the one thing I will say, and I do agree with, is that despite the fact that survivors have all these hand-holdy things and they're still able to win, they're still able to get an escape out of this, their just lack of knowledge will still allow them to lose matches anyway. Which is also a good point. So I may not agree entirely with the anecdotal experience because I'm not having that experience, but I can understand exactly where he's coming from.
clear, I am not talking about casual players. Those I fully support and understand. The game is hard to play right now. There are many perks and add-ons you need to learn, many macro decisions to take, many killers to counter and maps to know the layout. I don't blame those players at all, and you will never see me get mad when the thing that is lacking from a player is knowledge. What I am referring to is entitled survivors. That breed of players who play like shit and then blame their teammates or the killer because they played like shit. Those players that the moment they hear the ghoul or the knight's terror radius, they immediately DC without even attempting to learn the counterplay to those killers. And why should they? Their entitlement is the reason why Skull Merchant, a killer that was B tier at best, got massively nerfed and is absolute trash to this day. An entire killer got it because players didn't want to learn how to counter her kit, which all you had to do is stand.
I'm gonna 100% agree with MintSkull on that, but I want to add another example that's even stronger than just Skull Merchant. Think about the Onryo, one of the worst characters in this game. The only reason that she even gets kills at this point is through the condemn. But that's against people that don't pull out tapes. If they're pulling out tapes, which takes mind you less than a second because they have they decrease the time it would take to pull out the tape because players were just refusing to figure out the counterplay. They were refusing to figure out that literally it's that simple. You just walk up to the TV and press a button. It's the most simple thing in the world, and it prevents all stat gain. And yet they changed Onryo to be this shell of her former self at this point. So Skull Merchant, Onryo, two great examples of just complaining leading to a character completely just being gutted into the ground, never to be seen again. And sure, you can have an outlier, because I know someone will bring it up. There'll be an outlier, like, oh, well, you know, one pump was able to get this streak and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, that's one person out of the entirety of the community who plays the character. Like, one pump has probably double, if not triple, a lot of our hours for playing this game. And is willing and able to figure out what works, what doesn't, to figure out his own playstyle around it, what works, what doesn't, add-ons and stuff like that. He has the time to do that. That's wonderful. I'm glad he can do that. It's really inspiring. And it inspired me to want to play Onryo as well. I mean, besides the fact that I like just like the Ringu, you know, franchise as a whole, and I wanted to read the books and stuff. But beyond that, you know, sort of backstory with it, he inspired me to go, okay, maybe that's how she's played. Like, that's what would work best. And that's one person out of how many, right? And people like to use that to even bring up the whole blight thing. It's like, oh, the blight streak. And it's like, but that's one particular player. Not everyone, not every single player playing blight is doing this. It's one particular player who's a competitive player with double, triple our hours that are able to understand the game at such a fundamental level and is able to essentially read your mind at that point to counter you with Blight, because Blight's already strong, but then you have a strong player picking a strong character. It's pretty much a wrap for you. And it all boils down to a massive skill issue from the survivor end, because keep in mind that if the mass majority are casuals going against Momo 7's Blight, you're pretty much cooked because you don't have the knowledge to understand how to counter that. But that's not the fault of the balance of the game. That's not the fault of the balance of the character. That's not even the fault of the player playing the game, because they have their hours in. They know what they're doing. They have the experience. That should be the response. That should be what happens when you're experienced. That you should be able to get positive results. So that if you do face someone at your level, then it's a challenge. You go, wow, this guy knows as much as I do. Now I gotta lock in. That's how it works.
And steal or crouch. And these kinds of players, the entitled ones, are dangerous for the health of the game, because they genuinely think they can have an opinion on the balance of it without playing the other side. If you say Shoulder the Burden is overpowered, they will tell you that you are just a bad player, because the perk does nothing if you don't tunnel, which is not true. Shoulder is the strongest perk a survivor can bring in the game. It's absolutely game changing.
I've been saying that for ages. What is that? Think about it. I've always told you guys this. Pay attention. What is that? The same thing I always bring up. What is that right there? That is what? Gaslighting from the DBD community. You know full well that a perk is ridiculous, especially when if you're a killer player, or even if you play both sides. You have seen it full well or have used a perk and you know fully well how ridiculous the perk is, and you'll have people just blatantly telling you that that's just not true, when there's already numerous examples that it's occurred. Multiple people with the same account going like the same account of, you know, their experience, offering that same take. They're like, yo, I've used this perk. I've seen this perk multiple times. Like, this perk is ridiculous. Oh, no, it's not. It's like, what are you talking about?
It's banned on competitive, but because these players suck major ass and they don't use this perk because they go down in seconds, they think the perk is okay. After all, it's not a problem for me, so my opinion is the one that matters. These players will claim that killers can win without tunneling or slugging, so the only players that tunnel are the losers and tryhards, but that's because they as survivors suck so much that the killer doesn't need to tunnel to win.
That right there is something that I think is very important, a very important distinction that a lot of survivor players fail to understand. The fact of the matter is that any and every time I've ever seen anyone who's playing killer not have to tunnel, not have to do these things, is because their MMR level is low. I've seen this time and time again. And it's funny because if I bring it up, people will disagree. Oh, what are you talking about? This is high MMR. And it's like, no, like they're getting stuck on walls. They're crouching behind rocks and corners and shit. Like they don't even know you're behind them right now. Like, dog, like we can see what's happening. Like, dog. You know what I mean? And it's really crazy because they get offended that you're pointing it out. And it's like, yo, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that you're at a low level. You know what I mean? That's fine. We're not saying that you're bad at the game. We're just saying like that's where you're at right now with that character. That's not a bad thing. But secondly, you know, because that was more for the killer players. Secondly is for the survivor players to hear. It's like, if they don't have to utilize strategies to beat your team, you're probably not as good as you think you are. That's just plain and simple. Because if your teammates or even yourself are going down in seconds, you are providing so much pressure against your team, and you're providing free pressure for the killer player so heavily because they realize, like, yeah, this guy is gonna get down in like 10 seconds. I got this. This will be light. And you can tell automatically because other players who are confident in their chasing ability will not be going down in under 10 seconds. They just don't. They just don't. And that ties into my issues with the second chance perks, but either way, MintSkull is right on the money with that.
They don't understand that they suck at the game. They are the reason why the killer doesn't need to tunnel. They are the reason why low tier killers win. It's not the game, it's them. And playing that monthly Huntress or Blight match against low MMR survivors to finish their Rift challenges does not count as you playing both sides. It's
100% true. And I'm very vocal about the fact that I don't play both sides. But I am vocal about the fact that I have played both sides. I've dedicated at least 400 hours to the survivor side and made the decision that I just do not enjoy it, and therefore I just don't play it, because as it is, I already don't enjoy the game. So why would I play something that I don't enjoy double? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I at least like playing a killer that's one of my favorite characters from a horror movie, right? I would like to do that a little bit more, but the game itself is also just not fun to play. So in general, I usually just play for a little bit, as you guys have seen on stream, and then we'll switch over to a more fun experience. That's just what we do. But you will never catch me saying I play both sides. Never. Because it's not true. It's not accurate. Like, I can't say that I confidently do currently play both sides. I mainly am going to be playing on the killer side because that at least has something to do. Survivor in general is just a lot of busy work and doesn't really provide an interesting and engaging experience. It just simply doesn't. I mean, I have to be honest about that. I just have to be honest about it, especially with the mere fact that they've overbuffed them so heavily. It's not interesting. You know what I mean? It's really not. Like, there's nothing to really worry about on that mode. It's not like I'm really like trying to, you know, think on my feet and try to like make something work with what little I have. It's like, no, everywhere I go is a brand new piece of wood. Like, where the hell else do I need to go? I can just run from this one to this one to this one to vault that, and then to this one and this one. It's like, there's no pressure. There's no what do you call it? Fear that I'm gonna go down at that point. Like, it's just like I'm constantly safe. Like, there's no tension. There's nothing there. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comment section, man. Let me know what you think of the MintSkull video. Watch the original, link in the description, of course. Hit the like, hit the sub, support the channel by becoming a member on YouTube or Patreon, or even subbing on Twitch, man. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, let's go ahead and read off these wonderful members. We got Patreon, Crow Vader. All my YouTube members, Brando, Evil Blade, Cap Courteous, WTF You're Not JLo, Evil Peach, Cargan Falcon, Dole Whip, Noxus, Zero Mocker, Jack, Christian, and Crow Vader. Really appreciate you guys supporting, man. And if you also subbed on Twitch, just know that you got love coming your way too. Appreciate you guys, man.